Hey everybody, welcome along, Douglas. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, looking forward to having a chat with you about your really impressive background in the blockchain space and specifically about smart cities. So maybe to kick it off, if you could introduce yourself and tell us a bit about that.
So I've been an engineer since I was in 1995, and so I lived through the dot-com days, the SARS period, the '08 recession. Did my first mobile app on the Palm. Not sure if you remember.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I do. We've actually got very similar backgrounds by the sound of it.
Yeah. Then so did web hosting, did online forums, did social networks. Did the first mobile app on Palm, and then after that we went on to the first app on Android. That was '09. Was looking at iPhone, but it was super crowded during that time. And then after that, by 2010, we managed to pitch the idea to Yellow Pages, Global Yellow Pages, and then they bought it. They bought the company, and then I kind of grew a lot from there.
Right.
Yeah. So since then, fast forward, have about 7 companies exited. 5 of them, 2 of them got listed. That's pretty much my background.
Very impressed. Yeah, so obviously I think the main thing we'll talk about today is BCB, your Smart City project. I've actually had a bit of experience in smart cities myself over the last couple of years and how blockchain's been used. So can you talk us through that?
Yeah, my first interaction with a smart city is from this movie called Minority Report.
Yep.
Yeah, and then after that we went on to Eagle Eye, and then went on to Ready Player One, and so on. So for BCB blockchain, we hope to achieve a trustless society where actually it's pretty interesting, but people don't really trust each other. So if we're able to implement a blockchain technology that enables them to be trustless, that I think will be the first foundation for a smart city to happen. In the past 2 years, we actually went around the globe to find places that is suitable. And being Asian myself, I found Myanmar to be very suitable because it has a pretty sizable population, and it has a city, an area, a landmass that is very near the sea, and you can kind of develop that from scratch. We managed to work together with this company called Yatai.
Yep.
So they have been a very big proponent of smart city solutions. So we met, and then we decided that if we're going to build a smart city, we should start from scratch. So we were initially thinking, or rather BCB blockchain was initially thinking of trying to build it from Singapore, from Tokyo, from all the matured cities. But we realized that it is very difficult to change an existing city's infrastructure, especially when it's super matured. But it's very much easier. For example, so we went to Germany. We found this technology that the Germans have, where the road can have the vehicles traveling, because vehicles, they weigh a few tons, right? So if you have a lot of those vehicles traveling at the same time with sufficient speed, it can generate enough energy. So the road pressure can actually retranslate to energy to the lamppost. And if you have a 5G lamppost, then the 5G lamppost, right, could technically help you to reduce the load of bandwidth, right, bandwidth spreading. And then that 5G lamppost, if it's powered by the solar, it can then also charge the electric vehicles at the same time. So we then discovered that most of this stuff is built in China. So we went in China a lot. We went to a lot of cities in China, developing a lot of different smart city hardware. And then we basically try and integrate the BCB blockchain onto a lot of these ideas. So like for example, another country that we went to was Dubai. So we went to Dubai, because they claim to be one of the cities where the government is pro blockchain, right? So we went there, and then we discovered quite a few opportunities that we can do together with the Dubai Smart City. Where they are translating a lot of government documentations on the blockchain, but we think that that's like one of the elements of a smart city. We also went to Philippines, where we have worked with DOST, the Department of Science and Technology, where together with about 1 million students in the Philippines, we co-developed solutions like typhoon monitoring, agriculture. So like there was a story. So a mango farmer he has to close his farm for 3 months because a slight bacteria was detected in one of the batches, but they couldn't identify which farm it was from because the farms go in batches, so all the farms had to be closed for 3 months.
Mm.
Yeah, so that badly affected the livelihood of the farmers. So yeah, so that's why we've been building this BCB blockchain, and that's why we find Myanmar's Thai city to be very suitable. Yeah, because
Wow.
it's an environment where you can really build the road, the infrastructure, the water, refining, the power plants, everything from scratch.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what's your specific role with the company?
Oh, right. I'm the CEO of the BCB blockchain. We're actually a venture build project from GBCI Ventures. So,
Yep.
about 2 years ago, 2018 January, we announced that we have raised 100 million to invest in smart city projects.
Wow. Okay. And is it very much based in Asia, or are you expanding globally, or are you global right now? Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, right now we are pretty much centered in Asia. Dubai and Japan will probably be the two closest countries that we have expanded to.
Okay. Wow.
Mm.
So is the project in Myanmar, is that's your biggest project right now, or
Yes,
it is?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We go there a
Fantastic.
lot. Mm.
Wow. So could you tell people about, give us a bit more context around what's happening in that project and sort of the future of smart cities? Can you hear that word a lot. I've been involved in a couple of projects, and it can be quite a generic term, but can you maybe talk a bit more specifically about a couple of applications that you think are game changers?
Right. So the beauty about being able to build a city from scratch is that you're able to introduce a lot of elements that will enable, for example, in Singapore, once every 3 months, we have someone going to people's houses to collect the water and electricity meter reading. So I'm not sure if that's in the rest of the world, but in a lot of parts of Asia, that happens.
Yep.
So in Myanmar, we introduced this infrastructure that enables us to do smart water meter and smart utilities reading. So this enables us to charge by the second, but more importantly, it enables us to record every single reading per household on the blockchain. Which then enables us to create a very flexible business model. So, for example, we have 2 hotels in Myanmar that is currently leveraging on this idea. So, because they are able to know the usage consumption on a microsecond basis, they are then able to tell the people that lives in the hotel, hey, you know what? If you leave your lights on, you leave the water on when you leave the hotel, this is the full room price that we'll be charging you. But if you turn those off, you can have savings when you check out.
Fantastic. Yeah, as I say, I've spent a bit of time in the smart city space and looking at how blockchain technology is going to be used. In fact, I actually went out to Bulgaria about 4 or 5 months ago to check out a project there that's just getting underway. So I've got a fairly good idea about how blockchain has been used. Could you talk specifically about BCB and what use cases you'd like people to know about, and what sort of people would you like to get in touch with you?
Maybe I'll also start by sharing another application that we have in the Myanmar city right now. So there is a couple of thousand people in that city, and because it is an isolated city, about 10 hours drive from Yangon, and the nearest airport is about maybe an hour or two away. So the most interesting thing there is that there is no bank.
Right.
Yeah, so there is no banking system. Currencies are all paper based, and with this recent COVID-19, a lot of people is afraid to touch currencies because it is one of the main methods of spreading the virus. So this accelerated the adoption of one of our projects, which is working on the BCB blockchain, which enables the whole city to use that to receive their salary, to use that to make payment, to use that to do remittance. and because it is built on the BCB blockchain, they can check every single record and they can feel that, okay, this will definitely be transacted or executed versus going to a shady money changer that comes around with a big bag of cash and then takes the money from you, write down a piece of paper and says, okay, I'm going to transfer to your account later. And also things like that are happening right now, and that makes building this smart city very interesting because you can really build infrastructural projects like the smart water meter, utilities reading, and you can build that for real world consumer based applications.
Yeah. So are people actually building on your blockchain, or are you sort of providing the different elements, whether it's payments, currency by the sound of it as well? Can you talk us through a bit about that?
Yeah. So So what we do for BCB blockchain is that we try to build a platform. So we try to build an idea that this platform contains all the best smart city solutions in the world, right now in Asia, right? And then with this platform, we then visit multiple government agencies, multiple MNCs, and basically try and bridge some of these ideas, some of these theories, and also some of the actual projects that they can use. So we like to see ourselves as one of the main connectors. Of course, all these projects are built on top of the BCB blockchain. But as you know, infrastructural changes is very costly. So most recently, in the last 1 year especially, we try to visit countries or cities that are very much less developed, so that there's an opportunity for both, right? Because the developer who's going to develop the city feels that, okay, in the next 10, 15 years, I can reap the benefit of building a city. And then, of course, you then need the government to sort of support that idea and the initiative so that the next future plan could be related to that city, right? Because you still have the economic reasons of building a city. And then that combined together with the various smart city solutions that's available out there on the BCB blockchain platform, we can then tie in, hopefully in the next 2-3 years, a real city that's 100% built on blockchain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see the pace that this type of thing's happening, and it was a pleasure to come across you guys a few weeks ago, having sort of had a little bit of involvement in the space myself for a while. I understand how quickly this is all going to move. Obviously, we're both in a fairly futuristic city here in Singapore at the moment, but it's fascinating to see you guys really sort of going in there ground up. So who are you primarily partnering with? It sounds very much a sort of governmental level type scenario, or who are the other sort of businesses that you work with, or you can put a bit more context around that?
Oh, right. So we primarily work with government bodies because they are the first people to adopt. They must adopt, because if they don't adopt, then it'll be very difficult to implement. So they must first have some inclination of saying, okay, we're willing to explore, we're willing to adopt. And then the next step would then be to find the local ecosystem and connect that to the existing ecosystem of partners that we already have. So for example, the payment maybe remittance companies that are building on our blockchain, because we don't build that ourselves. And then the smart water meters and so on, or the smart homes, or the 5G lampposts and so on. So these projects, these solutions, we kind of bundle them together, and then we discuss, and we have an open,
Okay, so it's a real mixture of sort of the governments, property developers, I guess, would be involved in this type of thing as well. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, and the universities.
Sorry.
Yeah, and the universities. So the schools, they provide a very good environment to do a lot of research on the blockchain, because blockchain itself is new.
Right. So how's the current situation affecting you guys? Obviously, we're both in Singapore at the moment. I was supposed to be on a plane to Thailand a couple of weeks ago for a project out there, and obviously I'm certainly here for a while now by the look of it. We've just been told we're staying indoors for another 6 weeks, which was a bit of a heartbreaker to hear yesterday. Can you maybe tell us about, it is a black swan event, as they say. These smart cities, do you see application of how, a scenario like this with the coronavirus, which I think, unfortunately, it's now dawning on us that we're not that prepared. These are viruses that seem to pop up every 5 or 6 years, or at least they have this century. How would building a smart city sort of ground up? Obviously, would this be something you're looking at contingencies around these type of events and how they would be handled more efficiently than maybe what we're seeing at the moment?
Yeah,
I know, for example, here in Singapore, that they announced yesterday that they want us to use an app that I believe is utilising blockchain to help monitor what's going on. I'm not sure if it is. I mean, a bit of a curveball of a question to you there, but could you maybe comment on whether there are things you guys are looking at that will address these type of situations?
I think the closest solution to this would be the one from the Philippines, where we talked about the mango farmer earlier.
Yep.
So there was a real scenario where disease control, bacteria control on food exports.
Right.
Could be a cause. I think somewhere around maybe 10 odd years ago, there is the mad cow disease, right? So from the export of the beef from was it Australia?
I think it was the UK.
UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is very interesting to be able to spot this kind of pattern, and what blockchain could actually do is to trace where it is actually sent to. Because right now, a lot of this food are sent in batches. Although they are always tracked in batches. And you know how the food industry goes. When it goes in batches, it goes to a major wholesaler who then distributes it to everyone else. And then once it gets down, because all this food stuff, they expire really quickly. So the moment the wholesaler goes down to the next level and it goes down to the next level, it's literally very difficult to trace where it went.
Right. Yeah. True. Yeah. So, blockchain in general, what do you think have been sort of the major innovations and strides that we've seen over the last few years? It's sort of, gone from a bit of the general public kind of knows Bitcoin, they hear the word blockchain. Where do you think we are as an industry now, and how do you see it shaping up over the next few years?
I think the most amazing part about blockchain is that it reminds me a lot of the days in 95. In 1995, when you and I we were still
I agree.
HTML days, and then right, and those were the days where internet was very nascent, and then there's a lot of applications that could be developed. Of course, tons of ideas during the .com bubble, right? So tons of ideas have already been floating around, like video conferencing, right? Like being able to just chat with someone instantly. In fact, all these ideas were not new. They were already concepted during the bubble days, but it takes a lot of time because of the infrastructural requirements, right? Like you mentioned, you did the T1 cabling, right? So those kind of infrastructure have to be in place, and now we have fiber optics making video conferencing much more easier as compared to if we were to do this 15 years ago. This one,
it does feel like that. Yeah, as we discussed before we were filming it. I was involved in a lot of the infrastructure, the backbone build out, and that's sort of how it's felt to me over the last couple of years. It's also, I think, quite an interesting situation now where we've obviously had that sort of multitude of companies come in with a wonderful white paper and some good marketing, and they've not really delivered. So, it's always great for me to come across companies like yourselves that are actually out there doing something. I've been really impressed.
So I think one of the major breakthrough that had happened in the past couple of years that a lot of people talk about is the transaction per second.
Yep.
Right? Because the infrastructure for such a decentralized network is actually, I would say, not yet ready to process, like, for example, a billion transactions per second. Because if you were to record live, you probably need more than a billion transactions per second, which is why today's environment, everyone is in a centralized system. Yeah. So and of course, being decentralized and wanting to achieve the idea of having a billion transaction per second, is superbly difficult because you need a mixture of the hardware implementation all the way down to the software layer to be able to do something like that. So the clearest example of a centralized system that can actually do that would probably be the Singles Day in China by this Taobao, right? Yeah, so they process like, I don't know, a few billion transactions per second. Yeah, so that looks like a centralized system that if we can decentralize it and with the right hardware in the next few years, I think that will be a super major breakthrough that will result in a lot of blockchain implementation.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. So, any other sort of comments on the industry and what you guys have got in your roadmap?
Yeah. We are currently working with the Indonesian government for this art authentication. So to be able to authenticate when an artist draws something.
Really?
Yeah, so when an artist draws something, the biggest value is that piece of art is the only piece.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's why usually they get the highest value when they pass away, because if they don't pass away, no one can guarantee that is the only piece that they will ever have.
Right. A good friend of mine's actually a guy called Vesa. He's a crypto artist. So I've been looking at the non-fungible tokens, what artists are doing in the space as well. It's been you should check him out. Buy some of his art. He's going to be huge. He's the best blockchain artist out there, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And the other project that we're looking at is somewhere in Malaysia. So actually, it's very interesting. I never knew this, and I think you don't also. In 1994, there was a Malaysian company that created the world's first e-passport patent.
Right.
Yeah, I never knew that it was from Malaysia.
Wow.
Yeah, so remember we used to be paper-based, and then later on it becomes this like hard chip on our passport, and then so that was from Malaysia. So
it's actually a very good friend of mine in Singapore who's behind the chips and passports.
Yeah, so
I'll introduce you to him. He's it's quite amazing actually. It's we've both been in tech since the 90s, and I had a lunch about 3 weeks ago here just before our lockdown in Singapore, and got a bunch of my buddies together to check out a new crypto card that I'm doing some work with. And when I looked around, I realised that pretty much all of my friends have some aspect of their business is now involved in blockchain. So it really has gone from, for a lot of people, just that sort of speculative, what the hell's a Bitcoin, understanding it as a bit of a speculative asset to have a small investment into, to really now sort of seeing how this technology, we're sort of what's third generation blockchains now, I guess you'd say. It is moving fast. I'm very, very pleased because there has been times over the last 4 years where I've had to sort of ask myself, oh my God, have I made the right decision to immerse myself in this space? But I think I made the right move. It's a fascinating industry. Seeing what you guys are doing is just yet more reinforcement that this is where the future is at. So obviously you've got the same problem as me. You're locked inside for the next 6 weeks. How are you coping with this?
So right now, Vanessa and Jason, so they are co-CTOs of the blockchain, right? Of our BCB blockchain. They're also my co-founders for this business. So together we are providing this I think $15 million grant in total to 1,000 blockchain projects. So we hope to be able to, during these 6 weeks, provide $15,000 US grants to as many startups as possible that can use the blockchain to develop something in the next 6 weeks.
Okay, well, I'm sure you're going to get lots of. How do people go about doing that? What's involved? It's very interesting.
Yeah, we're coming out with an application site soon. So once that's ready, people can start developing on the BCB blockchain, coming out with interesting solutions.
Well, I know what I'm doing for the next 6 weeks now. Sending you lots of proposals.
We hope to be able to connect people. And
fantastic! Yeah. Wow, okay, that's a really significant amount of funding there. Tell us a bit more about that. That's fascinating, actually.
Internally, as I shared earlier, that one of the most difficult thing would be to make sure hardware is ready so that we can actually achieve, a lot of transactions per second. But also at the same time, there are not enough engineers who understands blockchain, and there are not enough engineers who are developing on blockchain because they are right now everyone is on developing mobile apps or some VR technology or AI tech, right? So very little people is looking at blockchain. So we hope that this grant can help to accelerate more people. So internally, three of us, we hope to get about 1,000 projects. So we're willing to pay about $15,000 grant per project. So we hope to give out to about 1,000.
Well, you might want to have a look at a video that I'll be posting probably at the same time as this one, actually. I've been working with a social impact fund in the region as well. So, yeah, we're utilising blockchain on a number of projects there. I'll get you to have a look at that. I can be one of your first applications. But, that's really interesting. So your team, where are you? Are you all based in Singapore, or how's it structured?
Oh, right. So GBCI Ventures, which is the mother company, we got in total about 1,000 employees, spread across 10 cities in Asia. And then in Singapore, we have a smaller team of about 30 odd people. The bulk of them right now is definitely in Myanmar because that's the city that we're trying to build. So we got about almost 600-700 people in Myanmar alone.
Right. I'd love to come and have a look. I mean, I've seen some footage. Well, we can probably throw up a wee bit here, or at least the links below. It'd be great to actually come and have a look at what you're doing there. As I say, I spent a bit of time up in Bulgaria working on a blockchain project there called Blockchain Valley, which is very, very much in its inception at the moment. So it might be something for you guys to have a look at.
Yeah, definitely.
But, so tell us a bit about, I was looking at your background, maybe give us a bit of your story. You're a fascinating character. You've really done a hell of a lot, putting it mildly. What other projects that were you involved in the past? You were in the fashion industry. You've done a number of things, I see.
Sure, yeah. So, you can, of course, edit the video later. But, okay, so I started with web hosting because when I was 14, I was on IRC. I don't know if you remember that IRC. Yeah. So it was fun times, and I met many people from all over the world from IRC when I was 14 in '97, and that was the period of time where I learned how to hack servers. So and that's why I started a web hosting business, because you need a lot of servers.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of IP addresses, and you need the bandwidth to be able to get into another server, right? So it was fun times. Of course, I was very young.
Yeah.
And then those are the period of time where you have Napster, right? Where you have like all these MP3s going on.
Yeah.
And then you have what Win Player or something like that, where you can play all kinds of media. So those are fun times. And then after that,
one of my founders was involved in eMule, I'm sure you're familiar with eDonkey. Which was the movie version of Napster. So yeah, one of my founders was the guy behind eMule, which I don't know whether I should have said that. Actually, I presume he's not going to get in trouble for it these days. So sorry to cut you off. Go, tell us more about your background.
Yeah, but those were really fun times. Then after that, after hosting, so I had clients from all over the world. In fact, from Europe, I have a lot of Romanian and Russian clients. I after hosting, I started to go into like a bit more B2C. So I went to create an online forum. And then after that, transform that online forum to become like a mini social network in Asia. So at that time, actually, it was very interesting because the Chinese can actually use the site. So I mean, a lot of people hear about the Great Firewall, and a lot of sites were blocked, right? But those days, my forum can be used by the Chinese. So I had like 700,000 registered Chinese users on my forum. That was 2001. It was very interesting because we had this online forum, very multinational, different languages, different bots, and then after that, I expanded to create it into a social network, like a mini social network, and then that was when I burned all the money that I had saved up, profited and gained in the past like 6 years. So from 14 to 20 years old, I was like, okay, I have quite a bit of money, and then next thing you know, the forum is like consuming shitloads of videos and photos. And then even though it's super slow to load and super slow to upload, those were the days where you take 3 days to upload a video.
Right.
And the bandwidth and everything was so expensive. So I sold the company to another bigger entity that could sustain that kind of cost. And then after that, I went into this period of time where a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to build a website, I want to search engine optimize, I want to get on social media. So that was the period of time where I created an agency. So I kind of helped people do that for about 2-3 years, and then I decided, okay, let's look at the next big thing, and then or the next fun thing to do, and then I chanced upon this Palm, and then because back then there was so many, right? There was Palm, there was Nokia Telecommunicator, there was HP, there was tons of people building all kinds of devices and all kinds of operating systems, and BlackBerry was a big one back then.
With the little keyboard on the device.
Yeah. So then of course Apple changed everything. So so that at that time, I was very lucky because that new Palm device was super sexy. Unfortunately, it didn't take off, but it was very sexy.
When was that? That was about 97, 98?
Yeah, oh yes, that one was the one with the stylus.
I remember that one. I actually knew a couple of people involved in that project.
Yeah. So and then after that, I wanted to build on the Apple ecosystem, but it was so crowded. There was, I think, almost 1 million developers very quickly. So we decided to went on to Android because it was very fragmented. Basically, there was very little developers in 2009, and then then we started our first application there. Actually, that was my biggest project at that time. So we created this mobile app based in Singapore and India. We got about 10 million downloads in India and 2 million downloads in Singapore. That project in 2009, we already had taxi booking, we already had food delivery, we already had like deals, so like Groupon deals.
Right.
We basically had a whole bunch of stuff inside that single app called Show Nearby.
Wow.
So the concept is you can find anything nearby, you can book it, you can buy it, you can transact with it. Yeah.
Was some of those sort of things, that classic scenario where you've had the best idea, but often been second is better? You were the innovators that had put it out there. I mean, how did those projects play out? Are they some of them still around, or?
Well,
you sold them. They were companies that.
We sold them to MNCs, and then MNCs usually try to break them up into smaller parts and use it in different departments. Yeah. So
what's sort of your passion? Are you how would you describe yourself? Are you sort of more on the tech side, or are you the ideas guy, the entrepreneur? What's sort of your main passion?
I think if you look at like the typical tech startup structure, I would probably my biggest passion is in product development. Yeah, that's my biggest passion.
Awesome. Geez, you've done a hell of a lot. Very impressed.
Yeah.
So how are you going to spend this time sort of locked inside now for the next 6 weeks? We only heard about that yesterday here in Singapore, so I got to wrap my head around that today. It's a bit of a mental shift to prepare for that. But any thoughts about how you're going to cope with that might help other people out watching this?
I mean, a lot of people will tell you to do a lot of reading and stuff like that, but for me and my co-founders,
you're working away. You keep
we're just going to spend our time trying to figure out whether we can get 1,000 projects on this blockchain in the next 6 weeks. Yeah,
wow,
that's our goal.
Okay, look, I'm certainly there absolutely will be people watching this that'll get in touch with you on that front. Yeah, that's very exciting. So, look, it's been awesome talking with you. I'd love to maybe do this again in the near future, and obviously when we can actually get out and meet each other, maybe in 6 weeks' time. Looking forward to that. So, Douglas, once again, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Obviously, everyone watching this, thanks for joining us. There's links below to everything we've discussed here. And if you've got a great project or idea, links below. Get in touch with Douglas and his team.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.
Good talking with you.